Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Good, Bruce. That was the Oilers. I mean, my team wins 2 games in a row. The playoffs 6-0 and 8-2. I'm doing good. That was. I don't live and die with the Oilers like I did when I was a kid, like or even in my 20s and 30s and maybe 40s, most of my 50s. I don't. I don't have that kind of that kind of ego involvement with it anymore. But I'm still pretty darn involved, and that was really good. That was Graybeards Incorporated, Bruce, getting the job done with a lot of young guys chipping in too. But this is a veteran team, and McDavid and Draisaitl are now veterans, and we're seeing that in this playoffs. They're playing their best playoff hockey. I don't actually. Leon still hasn't. He's got a little bit of a ways to go to meet 2017, but he's starting to get there tonight, and he took a big stride. That's for sure, especially early in the game there. Bruce, let's do our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. And because it was a big Oilers win, we'll do 2 good things each. And you shall start it off. What was your first good thing?
All right. I'm going to single out Zach Hyman tonight. I was going to go with McDavid, but we go with McDavid a lot, and he does superhuman things on an ongoing basis. But Zach Hyman did Zach Hyman things on an ongoing basis, and tonight that included putting the puck in the net 2 times. Once by going directly to the goalmouth and converting a power play feed from McDavid on the Oilers' only power play of the game in the part of the game where the outcome was in doubt, and they converted that and promptly so. And then Hyman made scored a second goal, a big one, made it 4-0 in the second, with Kings kind of pushing play, and he took Draisaitl's long feed from the defensive zone and made one of his becoming patented solo rushes, Hyman. He really has the blinders on as he goes towards the net, and sometimes that's a bad thing, but sometimes it's a good thing. It's like he has he's got a huge magnet that's dragging him in towards the net, and he drags everybody in with him that's trying to stop him too. And he had an option, but he just let fly and put the puck past Jonathan Quick, and I think that was the one that drove Jonathan Quick from the net.
Correct, Bruce. It was.
And so that was 4th time this year the Oilers have blown out a goalie, and this is the first time they never surrendered the lead thereafter. They just rolled to victory. And then Hyman also got a primary assist on somewhat of a broken play on Nugent Hopkins' first goal, where Bouchard actually made a really nice kind of slap pass that Hyman captured at the blue line, held it long enough for Yamamoto to clear the zone, and then he took it in, sort of sawed off a battle, and then Nuge came over and cleaned up the puck, and it didn't look like much, and then Nuge himself won a couple of battles and came off the boards and took it into the slot and fired her home. But so 2 goals, 1 assist for Zach Hyman in tonight's game, and I just thought a strong effort front to back, 6 shots on net, a hit, a takeaway, and really nothing negative on his statistical summary at all, to my knowledge, and I haven't reviewed yet the distribution of scoring chances. Maybe you got him at fault on something there.
I can quickly check here.
18A,
nothing.
Okay, 18, well, there you go.
18A, that would be against.
Right.
All right. Bruce.
Way to go, Zach. Nice game.
Really, truly. And the second goal, I just loved. I loved the move that he made. First of all, Draisaitl, brilliant winning of the puck. He just slams the puck off the guy, and he makes this kind of
Andreas
Hector Gervais.
See you.
Andreas Athanasiou. Then he makes this heck survey of a pass, perfect weight on the
Mm-hmm.
pass to Hyman, who
Yeah.
can skate onto the pass. But then
Yeah.
Hyman made a brilliant play. And I've been saying all year long, and since I first saw him and have been watching him regularly, I've talked about him being the master of puck protection,
Yep.
and which is a lot to say on a team with Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl is fantastic at puck
Mm-hmm.
protection, and as is Hyman. They're both really, really good. Must be just hell to play against those guys. The load that they're putting on you constantly, that pressure. Anyway, the move that Hyman made to cut off the Kings player just with a quick rub of his body, like to get puck position on him. He went inside, inside the sweater, as they like to say, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
rubbed the guy out against the boards. There was no way the King could get the puck, and Hyman then broke in on that. That was a great play. And the goal, it's the first goal that he scored on the power play. This was the Oilers' second goal. That was a McDavid's pass. It was like a glittering pass, like a string of diamonds, and then Hyman's at the end of it for his little pot of gold tap in. It was such fine skill that it must be, and it was started off actually by Tyson Barrie with a great
Mm-hmm.
fake slap shot and a beautiful pass over to McDavid. So there was three, two exceptional plays, and then Hyman has the easy play. But since McDavid, I want to give an honorary mention to McDavid because that first goal,
Yeah.
Bruce, him and
Yeah. Yeah.
Leon, that first
Yeah.
goal was such a force of nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a thunderclap. A lightning bolt went off and a huge thunderclap and wiped out the Kings crowd when that happened because it was such an explosive play and such high skill play
Mm-hmm.
that you just think like, what are we up against here? What is this? It's like a herd of 500 elephants coming at you, and there's just no stopping it. It's irresistible. That kind of skill, power, unreal goal. And that's the definition of the Oilers right now is these two players playing at the peak of their abilities with with the strongest supporting cast we've seen at Edmonton um, in decades. So, Bruce,
That
my first good thing will be the support. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that was the 4-on-4 situation where
Yeah.
Brendan Lemieux tried to wrench Brett Kulak's head off, and Kulak got a penalty for getting his head wrenched off. I think they called it even, but anyway, it worked out in the end because the Oilers on the second shift of the 4-on-4, Woodcroft threw out the big boys, and LA had one chance, and when it didn't go in, they were in trouble because it was a 2-on-1 against, and Leon powered through a check. He was going to draw a penalty there because he was fouled, and that even the foul couldn't stop him from burying that perfect feed from '97.
Such a powerful hockey player, Leon Draisaitl. What a dramatic thing to see him rushing up the ice like that. Those guys were just so fast, thundering up the ice. It was awesome. Um, my first good thing is part of that supporting cast. It's Evander Kane, who scored 3 goals tonight, and I think 2 of them came on the what we call the Californian. That's the shot from the point that that goes in the net. I guess not. They weren't really. They're kind of semi-Californians. They were kind of rebound shots. Well, the one of them, yeah, both of them were rebound shots, and fantastic goals in that regard. Just him going to the effing net, like, and being right there, winning pucks on the board and going to the net and being there. And the first play, especially, he made a kind of a very athletic move in front of the net to kind of reach for the puck and tap it in on the rebound. And the second one was another CC shot from the outside that just came to him and he zapped it in. What was
Chipped
the
it up and over.
yeah? What
That
was the
was good hands by Kane there because the new goalie had just come on, Cal Peterson,
yeah?
and he was able to get air under the puck. Like he didn't fire it, but because he got it up and over, it kind of just fluttered into the net, and he knew it was in before it ever reached the goal line. You could hear him yell. And
The last goal, of course, came in the last 20 seconds of the game,
mm,
and it was absolutely great horizontal dart from Nugent Hopkins over to Kane, who just harpooned it in, and again, just sublime skill from 2 support players on the
yeah,
team, not the stars of the team,
right.
but these are the support players on this team. The
Hmm.
last thing I want to say about Kane in terms of how he played, he is the toughest and most fearsome player on the Edmonton Oilers. since probably, like, there's been a few this century. I'm going
Hmm.
to say Sheldon Surrey and Chris Pronger
Yep.
also
Yep.
had the same aura.
Hmm.
Um, Arguably Ethan Morrow, but I don't really think so. I think there's something different about Kane, Pronger, and Surrey. Just an element of menace I think that
Hmm.
you could actually feel the other players experiencing
Yeah.
on the opposition when
Yeah.
Kempe decided he was going to rough it up with Kane, and Kane just face washed him, head smashed him, punched
Hmm.
him, just roughed him up like he was a child. And Kempe had no response, right? He wasn't expecting that, I don't think, that he was going to get treated like that, because he thinks, in the modern NHL, players think they can get away with a lot, and they often do.
Yep.
Not against Evander Kane. And he is a menacing player. To me, he has changed the complexion of this team. He and I think he and Smith, maybe Keith. I don't know how responsible Keith is, but there are some really older, the graybeard players. We've
Hmm.
talked about them. I do think they're making a difference.
Yeah.
And Kane leading the way, because these guys are fierce. Smith is fierce. Kane is
Hmm.
fierce. And that ferocity goes a long way in the playoffs. It was a big
Hmm.
ingredient of the 1980s Oilers, as you and I know. It was a huge
Yeah.
ingredient,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's been a
100%.
missing ingredient. And I don't think with Kane, this kind of turnaround happens this season. I don't think we see this kind of swagger and this kind of performance in the playoffs without Evander Kane. He's been huge to the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. Well, so far in the playoffs, Evander Kane has 5 times as many goals as the Calgary Flames.
That should have been your number. That's good.
5 to 1. Where did I heard that before? Hmm. Must be
Sweet.
something.
Oh, I just love the applause last night. I love that. Bruce, what's your
Uh,
second good?
I am going to go with Cody Ceci, and he had a big night on the score sheet. He had 3 assists, 2 of them primary assists. In fact, he set up all 3 of Evander Kane's goals. 2 of them with outside shots that Kane was, as you described, able to convert inside. And another on the last goal where it was he who got the puck down into the corner for Nugent Hopkins to make the pass. +4 on the night. And this was a game where, uh, sorry, uh, CC had a nice edge, 27 to 18, and shot attempts 13 to 9, and shots on goal. So basically, 60% of the shots went Oilers' way. And this was a high event game where the Kings were generating lots of shots, and the CC Nurse pairing wasn't perfect, especially I thought not Nurse tonight. I thought CC didn't give up a whole lot,
No, he
but
didn't.
Nurse and
Still struggling.
they're struggling a bit for sure. Anyway, um, I thought CC was the stronger man on that pairing tonight, and of course they're playing big and important minutes. Of which tonight he played. I just ran my stats when we started this. 22 minutes, including almost 5 minutes on the penalty kill. So which did allow 1 goal, but he. I thought he was a pillar of strength on the back end for the most part of this game, and put up some gaudy boxcars. 0-3-3 +4 is a pretty good night's work for anyone.
He has become, as the season's gone along, one of my favorite Oilers,
Hmm.
and if not my favorite Oiler. And it's kind of a weird thing to say that Cody Ceci is my favorite Oiler, but I think all beer league hockey players have what I call a spirit Oiler,
Hmm.
and it's
Yes,
kind of
I
the
know what you mean.
player. It's the player they emulate.
Hmm.
That they because I'm at a right. Don't have a right shot, but I'm on the right side playing defense, and I really do admire the way he plays hockey. His positional play, after having been criticized for that savagely early in his career, his positional play is exceptional. He's rarely caught out of position. He's a really smart hockey player, and all his skills are kind of slightly above average. He's average size, maybe a little bit above average size. He's his passing is about average, maybe a bit of above average. His shot, the same thing. But his positional play is way above average now. He is a high IQ hockey player, rarely caught out of position. You know, he's just there. He's always there. You're not going to find him making these glaring mistakes. Darnell Nurse made a couple of them tonight
Hmm.
and was out of position. Darnell's still, I think, recovering from his leg injury. That's how I see it. He's looking a little better to me incrementally
Hmm.
each game in terms of his skating, but
He had some good moments. I mean, Darnell wound up the night +4, was as
he
did
did.
Cece. So, I mean, at least on the that's very much a surface stat some nights. It's just how many pucks happened to go in the two nets while they were out there, and sometimes it's more good luck than anything else. Because Nurse had no points and no shots on goal, so pretty rare blank slate for him offensively. But uh, he did have 4 hits, and he did
He was
uh,
hitting tonight.
uh,
Yeah,
block 3 shots. Still am. I have very mixed feelings, as in mostly negative feelings, when I see him go down on one knee in the slot, and it
I
cost him
know.
again tonight on the power play goal where he's down on one knee off to the side, and there's a guy just, I think it was Dano, jamming home the rebound because nobody's standing up trying to take him out of the play.
It doesn't seem to work, does it, Bruce? Like
No.
when Russell goes down, at least he makes the play half the time,
Hmm.
75% of the time,
Yeah.
80% of the time. Darnell, when he goes down, he makes the play like a third of the time. It doesn't work for him.
The play goes around him.
Yeah, because he's just better on his feet.
Hmm.
He's taken away his biggest advantage as a player when he gets
Right.
off his feet. And I agree with you. I don't think it's a good play. I'd rather that he get away from it. So anyway, we moved away from your praise of
Yes,
CCI, and
my praise is of Cece, and I mean the pairing obviously had a big night, and I thought Cece was the driver on that pairing, and he, not brilliant offensively, but he was rewarded for getting the puck to
on
good
net,
places and to good teammates.
yeah, yeah. Okay, my second good thing is Mike Smith. He shut out last game. This game, 2 goals against. So the Kings had 46 shots. The
Oh
Oilers
man.
had 37. But when it came to grade A shots, it was 19-11 for the Oilers, according to our preliminary count.
Hmm.
And for 5 alarm shots, it was 10-5 for the Oilers. So the quality of shots was much more difficult for the Kings goalies than it was for the Oilers goalies. There was more volume of shots. Nonetheless, Smith faced 11 grade A shots and 5 alarm shots, and he just let in the 2 goals and 46 shots overall. They can all go in. So he was again strong. He was strong, generally strong, moving the puck. Um, he's unorthodox. He's a show in the net. There's some Paul Mateer kind of moments of him flailing about, but he is really providing the Oilers with some solid goaltending. And there's been goalies in the 40-year-old goalies in the past who have had real success in the playoffs. Um, Johnny Bauer, Jacques Plante. I had a There's a couple. Dominic Hasek. There's been some 40-year-old goalies who have gotten it done in the playoffs. Martin Brodeur, I think, was 39 or 40. When
Comfortably.
Gump Worsley. So most of them are a little while ago when we were young, but
Hmm.
Brodeur being the latest one. Although Hasek was in I think 2007 where he had, or 2008 where he had some success. So it's not unheard of for an old goalie to have success in the playoffs, and he's having it right now. He after a kind of wretched mistake in that first game, he's been really good.
Lester Patrick, there's an old goalie that had success in the playoffs.
George
Famous,
Hainsworth.
famous, legendary moment for Lester Patrick. But Mike Smith, as you say, we only had uh, five alarm chances out of the 46. But Mike Smith stopped an awful lot of grade B chances tonight,
Yeah,
and I don't think he let any in. And there was a lot of fighting through screens. I mean, LA was
yeah.
really bringing it physically, and they were really trying to crowd the crease. They were really trying to lay it on Edmonton's defenseman, uh, uh, and just trying to amp up the pressure. And I thought Smith dealt with that really well. And he froze the puck a few times, and he was right to freeze it to sort of at least let the boys grab a breath of air, even if they were seemingly sure to lose the next D-zone face-off anyway. Uh, but I just thought he was really solid behind them in this game, and one or two sort of nervous moments where his passes didn't go right where you wanted, but there was no dangerous shots that resulted from them. It just a couple times you see him scrambling back in the net, and you're going, oh, but nothing came of it, and lots of good sort of clean, safe handles in there as well. So he
Yeah.
uh, he was strong. He's going to get a good grade from me.
The Kings were trying to take advantage of his puck handling. I think they were trying to pounce on it and
Hmm.
pounce on the players he was passing to. And there was a few iffy moments. Once when he passed to Tyson Barrie, I can't remember exactly what happened after that, but that didn't work out too well.
Right.
Um, anyway, yeah, good for Mike Smith. And who would have thought a month ago we'd be all, or whatever it was. Yeah, it's early May. It's about a month ago that he turned his game around. It was early April, April 2nd or 3rd. So it's only been this short time period this year where he's really been strong. But has he ever been strong in that time? Bruce, what is your bad thing?
My bad thing is the second half of the second period, and there's a very sharp dividing line here where the Oilers scored to make it 5-0 at 9:51, and the Kings scored to make it 5-1 at 10:07, but it just happened to be on the other side of the 10-minute mark. But they made it 5-0, and then right away they had kind of a slack shift where Leon got beat by Kopitar. Nurse couldn't decide if he wanted to do anything, and he wound up sort of being frozen in place while Kopitar went right to the net front and roofed it. And I thought that was just a little bit sloppy. And then the whole rest of the second period was nervous Nelly time. I mean, for an 8-2 game, David, I got to say, I expended an awful lot of nervous energy watching this game. And I mean, when it was 5-0 and it was suddenly 5-2, and then the Kings got another power play before the second period is over. And I'm sure I and every Oilers fan over the age of about 48 was remembering the miracle, or what I call a
Yeah.
debacle, on Manchester, where the Oilers had a 5-0 lead in LA in Game 3 in a series that was tied 1-1. And I'm just going, no, 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 no. And I couldn't
Wasn't
wait
it?
for them to get the sixth goal. And it took finally, around before they got it, I was starting to relax. It was still 5-2, and the clock was ticking down 10, 9, 8, 7. I'm thinking, I think they got it under control. When Nuge scored to make it 6-2, I yelled. But there was a time in this game where really, I mean, two times, late in the first, really, and especially late in the second, where they were losing a lot more battles than they were winning, and it just was just a a little bit of a lapse, and obviously a push by the Kings, and credit to them for coming up with those pushes, but the pushback was a little slow in coming from the Oilers in that part of the game. So, and it, as 8-2 games go, I mean, bad things aren't going to be that bad, but this made for some nervous moments.
Was the miracle on Manchester? Was it 5-0 in the third period where
It
the
was
Kings scored?
5-0 after the second period,
Yeah.
and the Kings got five in the third period. Gary Unger took a 5-minute major with exactly 5 minutes and 0 seconds on the clock, and the Oilers leading 5-3. And they tied it up with 5 seconds left, 5-5, and it was everything was fives. And then Daryl Evans got the winner in overtime off a
I
face-off and
remember that.
roofed it
Yeah.
over. But they showed them tonight, and all of the goals were just absolutely miserable. Like the defending, the goaltending, everything just fell apart at the seams. And tonight that didn't really happen. Certainly the goaltending didn't, and the defense bent but didn't break, I think, is probably the best way to put it. And
McDavid and Kane are now tied for the lead in NHL scoring in the playoffs. It's early on, obviously, but 6 points in 3 games, tied with Mitch Marner.
wow.
And tied for second place with 4 other players is Evan Bouchard with his 5 assists.
5 points, yeah.
He and Keith are really playing well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Really been impressed with that
yeah.
pairing this playoff season. My bad thing, Bruce, it's there wasn't a lot bad this game.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually more relaxed after the 4-0 lead. I was pretty relaxed at that point and never really
Mm-hmm.
got too worked up. But I don't know if he got benched after this, but in the third period, about halfway through, Ryan McLeod made a play that I'm sure he went right back to the bench and just said, I'm sorry. He got the puck behind the Oilers net and he stick handled it in front of the net, took it out in front of the net, and then he tried to stick handle a player around a player right in the defensive slot, or the Oilers defensive slot, and he got stripped of the puck. And it was that was at 15:07 actually of the third period, and it led to a 5 alarm chance after McLeod got stripped of the puck. So it's not often you see a play like that. It's very rare because guys don't make that mistake very much, but he made it, and I'm sure he's feeling pretty bad about it.
He tried to deke a guy, in the
Yeah,
defensive slot, try to make
yeah.
a move around him, and
Tried to
yeah,
deke the
I
guy.
know he didn't get benched.
He didn't. Good. I'm
No,
glad he didn't. He
no.
shouldn't when it's that
In fact, he
score.
played 8 shifts in the third period, but there was the whole game was kind of flowing at a certain point there. It was hard you know, to, to isolate on any one specific player. It was just more a matter of getting that puck going in the right direction. And after that blunder, I didn't see any more mistakes out of McLeod. And
No, that I'm glad he
I'm
got back
liking
to the
his
ice.
game mainly, and I'm liking his buy-in. I think he's playing reasonably intensely. He's not a perfect player, but he's not shying away. And that's a big knock on the guys. He doesn't go to the tough areas. Well, I haven't had much of a problem with that in these playoffs. And I didn't think he had a particularly good game tonight, but I didn't think he was weak by any means.
I agree with you, Bruce. And I'm just picking on the one play, not his overall performance.
Yes.
I think he has played well this playoffs, and I have noticed an increase in his intensity, and it was needed. He needed to do this to play in the playoffs and compete. And we've seen it from Cassian. Cassian's been playing well. Fogel's been hitting. I like that line. I like that fourth. There are four big guys who can hit with if McLeod's hitting, and then he can carry the puck as well. So that is a fourth line. I'll take that as a fourth line. They were like we've talked all year. The Oilers need a bigger players who can bring some energy on the fourth line. Well, here we have it. They're doing it, and this is another benefit of course, the Kane signing, right? Because it bumped the forward depth up and allowed them to move players like Fogel down the roster and Cassian down the roster. So yeah, I agree with you. He is playing harder. He's in there mucking about, and that's what he's got to do. What's your number, Bruce?
My number is 11, and that is the number of consecutive goals the Oilers scored between the beginning of the second period in Game 2 and the midway mark of the second period in Game 3. That's a span of 70 minutes, during which time the Oilers outscored the Kings 11-0.
Sweet.
11 straight goals, and obviously more than enough goals to win two games, put the Oilers back in the driver's seat. But it's been a long, long time since I've seen them run on a streak that hot, with no goals against. I mean, Smith made probably 55 saves in that span as well in a row to backstop that run. But 11 goals in 70 minutes is just ridiculous. So, and as an auxiliary number, back-to-back wins by 6 goals, and I'm trying to figure out a time when the Oilers won back-to-back games by 6 goals in the playoffs, and I can't. I know in '85 they beat Chicago 10-5 in Game 5 and 8-2 to finish the series in Game 6. So 11 goal differential in those two games. I know in '83 they beat the Flames 10-2 in Game 3 and 9-1 in Game 5. Hard to forget games like that, but in between they actually lost Game 4, so it wasn't consecutive beatdowns, but they were, it was one game separating them. I mean, 6 goal wins are pretty rare, and they put 2 in a row on the board, and it's
And for all that,
nice to see the offense really, really breaking through and finding holes in not just the LA defense, but the goaltending as well, and finishing the chances.
and and for all that though, this is just a 2-1 series, and if
Mm-hmm.
the Oilers lose the next game, they're back in Edmonton,
Right.
a 3-game series. So this is
Yep.
still a very close series in terms of one loss. And next game, obviously, well, It's the playoffs. Every game's critical until you eliminate the team and move on. I just want to see that happen as soon as possible. I think it's important if a team's going to advance deep into the playoffs to get some rest and to heal up, and that would be excellent for the Oilers. But again, looking a little far ahead, they just got to see what happens the next game. Bruce, my number is Evander Kane's shooting number. So he directed 14 shots at net. 14 shots at net directed by Evander Kane, 9 on net, 9 shots on net. Of those 9 shots, 6 of them were grade A shots, 6 grade A shots, and 3 of them were goals. That's a pretty amazing record of shooting the puck. He has a nose for the net, as the old saying goes. He is around the net. He's like the prototypical power forward winger. He's either battling for the puck in front of the net, or he's battling for the puck in the corner, or he's finding space to get off a shot. And he's really smart about that, in finding those quiet spots on the ice to get off a good shot. He's a very clever hockey player. And this was his best game as an Oiler. Everyone's going to be full of praise for Evander Kane, but it is well earned. He just was outstanding.
I don't know about everybody, but when it comes to the game being played on the ice, it's pretty hard to argue with what Kane's been doing out there. I'll add one other number to your litany of shots numbers, and that's 8 hits credited to Evander Kane in this game. 8 hits, which is to say twice as many as any other Oiler. So he's bringing it on that front as well. And I can't recall one where he like totally lit somebody up, but he's just consistently finishing the checks and playing a pretty heavy game. And not too many people are taking runs at him. I in writing my pregame post for today, I took a hard look at the hits in games 1 and 2, and I published some of the things I saw, not everything, but one of the things that I saw was in 2 games, Kane had 11 hits, and he had only been hit once. So he was the guy that was least likely of any Oiler to get hit, even as he was throwing his weight around and hitting other guys. And I don't know tonight if anybody took any runs at him or not, but he usually comes out on top, and he's pretty intimidating in the process. And it kind of reminds me of one of the guys you mentioned earlier, Sheldon Surrey. I remember digging into hits and hits taken way back in Sheldon Surrey's time. And other teams were, running Smead, running Gilbert all the time. And Surrey, it was like nobody touched the guy. I mean, he was there, he was slow, the puck would come through him and it'd go through him, and some guys would sort of be in position to hit him, and they just sort of do the flyby and not finish the check, because they knew if they were going to come in there, they were going to get a taste of the Sherwood sandwich, and that was just his way. You take a run at me, you got to come at me, come right through my stick and my fists and my gloves, and it's not going to be worth your time, so you probably shouldn't be doing that. And of course, he was protecting himself to a large degree because he'd been so injury prone. So after a while, his natural instinct was. So that's an interesting thing to look with. The hits taken stat, which is not published by NHL.com, but you can find it on sites like Natural Statric, and I find that one's pretty interesting. Who's getting hit? Who's taking the hits to make the plays? Who's being targeted by the other team? Who is your team targeting? Edmonton forwards have been targeting LA defensemen in this series, and Evander Kane has been on the vanguard of that charge.
Might be a way to kind of measure the menace factor of NHL players is the ratio of hits given to hits taken. Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting. I'm going to do this. I'm going to look at this for this last season. That would be interesting to dig into and to see if someone like Kane, like who are the guys, the 10 guys with the highest ratio of hits given compared to hits taken. And you might find they're all like scary hockey players, but you can't be sure about that until you run the numbers. So yeah, I wonder with Pronger.
Either scary or guys like Sergei Zubov that no matter how many times you tried to run the guy, you never could hit him. Because he was just so damn slippery. I just could never get a piece of the guy.
But he doesn't hit much, right? Like Zubov, like Gretzky never got hit either, right? But he never hit. So their ratio wouldn't be. But I wonder, like with Pronger, for instance, right? Pronger threw a lot of hits. he hardly ever got hit.
Mm-hmm.
So he did get in the end, though. He got tagged pretty good, as I recall. It didn't concussions end his career.
Yeah, I
Think.
think he got hit with in the eye with a puck, though, if
Oh,
my
is that it?
memory serves, and somehow he got a concussion from a blunt force trauma to his eye, and he spent a lot of time in a dark room for a long time after that. Like I'm thinking a year,
Yeah. Oh,
where he
man.
was. And of course, he had a long contract, and he never did come back to play, so it just contract kind of petered out. But by the time the contract was over, he was actually kind of better again. I think he's fine now, but it took a while.
So I noticed there was lots of people at the downtown arena, probably at the in the square there as well. So
Hmm.
Edmonton's getting pretty excited, Bruce. I'm seeing the Oiler flags out on the cars. It's fun. Like, it's fun to see a whole new group of people who haven't been through a winning playoff year. It's not yet. It's officially a winning playoff year so far to date. It's still pretty early, but it would be nice to see the Oilers win a few series here and really get this town ignited because it's Edmonton's ready to blow and have a really good time, I think. So, and it's nice to see that happening already at the downtown arena and in the square in front of the arena. It was a massive project, and I think people like going down there for the games and having some fun.
Seems so. I mean, it seemed like it was a pretty lively spot in the few clips they showed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alrighty. Well, let's. You got to write the game grades.
I
I'll let you
do.
get at it. So, good
All right.
talking to you tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.